We greet you today with peace, with love, and with deep gratitude for you and all that you encompass, all that you bring, all that you are. And in the sacred space, we open up our hearts, our beings, our vessels, and we unite with all of you as one consciousness, as one body, as one mind, and as one soul. This short transmission is merely just a closing of one season, one cycle, one phase as we support you and guide you energetically. And as you move into the new year, into the new season, into the new phase, into the new cycle of your individual lives. And so the message today, beloved, is very, very clear. We want to speak to limiting beliefs, or beliefs in general, just for a moment. Take a moment and just reflect on beliefs or assumptions or ideas or stories or narratives or deeply held truths, which we would once again call beliefs. Beliefs that we've created over time, over the years and months of our lives. Beliefs that we were taught through the conditioning of teachings by our parents, our societies, our leaders, our communities, the world at large. Religious beliefs, societal beliefs, familial beliefs, connection beliefs, just any sort of belief, every sort of belief is what we're referring to here. It doesn't matter in which category, in which subject line it falls. Belief is belief, right? But one thing we would like to bring forward with regards to belief is this. With belief comes structure. Belief can guide us along our journey, and it can serve us in many, many great ways. And I believe that for everyone, including myself, any set of beliefs has served us from a very young age up until whenever it was, in terms of carving out our paths, allowing us to harness and cultivate a deeper connection with the divine based on any sort of belief, whether it's religious or spiritual or general. We would like to bring your awareness to this. Dare we, dare you, dare any of us realize the expansive wisdom and knowledge we have and we have access to in those still, small, quiet moments when we are not restricted by what we think we know, by our beliefs, by our assumptions, by our ideas, by our stories, by the narratives. This, beloved, is the heart of awakening. And so for many of you watching this now, you've already gone through or you are going through your cycle or season or moment or experience of spiritual awakening, heart awakening, where you are awakening to more of yourself, more of a deeper truth that already exists within you. For most of us, our belief system has been cultivated and created over time by what we've been told. Some of it through our own personal experience, yes. But when an awakening happens and we are awoken out of our unconscious state, where we realize there is so much more to what we've been taught to know, to what we've come to know thus far. And even those that are already masters on the spiritual journey, light workers, bringers of love, teachers, healers, star beings, star seeds, whatever name you would like to give it. Even those of us that are quite familiar with the path and have walked through many initiations and thresholds thus far, we still discover along the way that there might still be these subtle beliefs, assumptions, ideas, perceptions, narratives and stories that we still are even just subtly attached to. And with all of these created structures layered upon us, we begin to remove them one by one, one by one, one by one, right? But there's always still this yearning, even for spiritual people. There's a spiritual yearning. I'm sure anyone on the path can relate, even myself. There's a spiritual yearning to know more, to be more, to embody more. But the divine would like to bestow upon you this guidance and supportive message today, that in this moment now and any moment going forward, when you feel this yearning for something, for a moment in time, for a coming, for a going, for a feeling, for an experience, tune inward into the heart space, that access point, that still point within your own being, where that which you are yearning for is easily accessible if we allow ourselves to become really still. In that space where we are one with creation, one with our divine selves, one with God's source. Yearning, longing, seeking, searching ceases to be. Even belief ceases to be. All of those structures and constructed ways of attaching ourselves to certain things, ideologies and stories just falls away in that moment, and all that exists is love, isn't it? Love being the only truth. Love being one with truth. Love being truth in essence. There is only that. Everything else is just noise. That noise might have served you up until a certain point. But when we begin to awaken more and more and more, and open ourselves more and more and more to the truth of who we are, we become open and flexible enough to have our old, long-held beliefs and truths and stories and narratives changed. We are open enough to be informed by a greater truth within our own being. And it's not a truth that anyone can tell you. It's not something that you need to look outside of yourself for. It's not what this teacher says or that teacher says or that guru says or that mentor says. It is a distilled truth that already exists within your being. It is already there. I, as a being, as a guide, is merely just a pointer, pointing you inward, into your own self, into that wellspring of truth and love that already exists within you, beloved masters. And so the main message today that we bring forward for all of you is, as you move and transition from this year into the new, we urge you to empty yourselves. Become empty. Now, the notion of being empty doesn't sound that great, right? It sounds void of anything. It sounds like nothing. Nothing's happening. Excuse me for a moment. It sounds like nothing's happening. But what we discover is when we empty ourselves of the narratives, the old stories that might still be running, the old beliefs, no matter how deeply ingrained they are, the old ways of being, when we just begin to empty ourselves and attach ourselves to nothing, holding on to nothing, what we find there is a foundation of self. A foundation of self that has always been there, that is unshakable, unbreakable, that always exists. And it's upon this foundation of self which every other construct and structure and paradigm has been layered upon. And the awakening process is merely just the removal of everything else and discovering the foundation of self that already exists underneath all of that, within all of that. For when we empty ourselves, beloved, we become spacious, do we not? Spacious. Just imagine a feeling of spaciousness now in this moment as you are emptying yourselves right now in this present moment, as we connect in the sacred circle. There's a lightness that happens, a feeling of just being light, being here. When we empty ourselves and we become spacious, we allow and we have space, more than enough space, for that beautiful, loving source, God energy to pour and move through our being. Then we allow more of love to enter, more of truth to enter. This is the wisdom available to you in every single moment if you allow. And the question remains, how much of that love, how much of that emptiness, of that spaciousness will you allow? That's up to you in every moment. And then we also say to you, and as you allow the spaciousness to bring in and flow through your being, all of you, all that wants to be birthed through you, there's a little bit of doubt that creeps in, right? I believe that many of you, some of you, as I'm feeling, are ready to birth new things, birth new creations, step out in a bigger way, in whatever form, whether it's your business, your service, your state of being, your state of embodiment, just being more of your authentic selves, your God selves, as masters, as angels, as gods and goddesses. But there's a hesitancy that appears. There's a little bit of doubt that appears. Perhaps it is perceiving yourself as small, or perhaps it is ideas of grandeur, whatever that might be. None of that matters, because who you are is far more great than what you perceive yourself to be. Just taking a moment here as we center ourselves and become really still, feeling the influx of loving golden energy now streaming in, as an attunement, as an activation, as an initiation, to bring you into the new of your individual paths and journeys and lives. And as you have these urges, these motivations and inspirations to step forward more fully into your lives, in your service, your expression, your business, your embodiment, your connections, your experiences, And doubt creeps in, a lack of confidence creeps in, all of these egoic tendencies that says you are not enough. You need to over-exaggerate. You need to undermine and belittle yourselves. You need to judge the self. All of these little things can creep up in those moments because you are at the brink and the precipice of greater expansion and expression. And then when that source energy flows through you, it wants and it calls for greater expression. Without restriction, without you limiting the flow of God's love through your being. And we say to you, beloved, that there is a throne, your throne, that you are being called to sit on. It is a space that only you can take up. We urge you now, we ask you to step forward in your own light and take up space. Do not fear taking up space. Do not fear what it's going to do to others. Do not fear how it might affect others. We bring your awareness to one singular truth in this moment right now and remind you that there's more to you than just this constructed version of self. Source is present. And Source wants to move through you. Source wants to show you what is possible. And in order to not restrict it and limit its nature, we need to get out of our own way, in a sense, and allow it to move through us without judgment. And although it is human nature for us to judge because it is a new experience, we remind you that there is a throne for you to sit on. And if you are not functioning and operating from the seat of that throne, your throne, you might always feel like you're coming up with disappointments or you're meeting disappointment. And so for many of you who have tried stepping out in a greater way, for many of you that have tried being a greater expression, but have always been met with lack or disappointment, we say to you, what is being met in those moments of disappointment is the energetic blueprint of disappointment, of sadness, of letdown. We urge you to move from that state of consciousness into the consciousness now that exists within your original blueprint as you, as a masterful being sitting on your throne. There's a difference in consciousness. Do you feel? So what is bringing forward these experiences of disappointment or sadness or even lack is not necessarily the lack of trying or stepping out, but merely the holding on to and the attachment of the old disappointments and sadness and let down what has transpired in the past. But there's a different state of being and a different consciousness available to you now when you take a seat on your throne as a sovereign, divine, masterful being of light. And recognize that in this space, in this state of being, in this state of consciousness, there is no energetic flow of disappointment. There's just a knowing of what it is you need to do, what it is that lives through you, and what it is that needs to be expressed through you, because it feels like love. It feels like passion. It feels like a calling. It feels like the authentic version of yourself. It feels like God. And if you are not functioning from that perspective, from that state of consciousness, if you're not operating from that original blueprint, you might still perceive yourself as having experiences of lack and disappointment because we are still holding on to. Therefore, we say and remind you again here today, beloved, that as we move from this moment forward into the new transition, into the new season cycle phase of your individual lives, empty yourself. Empty yourself. Empty. foundation of self is always constant and is always there. Center yourself, empty yourself, and rest in the awareness of that foundation. It is the one thing that is true, the one thing that never changes, and it is you. In deepest gratitude, in overflowing love and abundance, blessing bestowed upon you in this moment. We look forward to connecting with you soon in the upcoming program, Resurgence, which begins the 1st of February. Mastery members gets free access to this program, and it is a beautiful and wonderful opportunity and way to allow and anchor in a greater state of alignment, embodiment, and step out in a grander, greater way in terms of your embodiment, your service, your healing, your business. And coming home in a deeper way within. Beloved Masters, we love you, we honor you, and we connect with you soon.